Welcome to Sonny's, the car wash factory. In conjunction with this training video, please reference each component's owner's manual, available at sonnysdirect.com, before performing any installation, repair, or maintenance procedure. Each manual details specific requirements and settings necessary for the safe operation and maintenance of your car wash equipment.
Welcome to Sonny's, the car wash factory. I'm Robert Andre with Car Wash College. Today we're going to talk about our tire seal machine. This particular tire shine machine is a rotational tire shiner. It's got an electric motor on this. This unit is available in either electric or hydraulic. The only difference you would have if it was hydraulic, you would have a hydraulic motor down on this side. With the hydraulic motor, the only difference when it comes to maintenance is you have to check it for leaks on a daily basis from your motor and your hydraulic lines. With the electric, you don't have to do that. Here we have the brush. This is a brush that looks similar to a tire shine brush. It's a little bit of a more dense bristle to really hold the tire shine chemical in here. We're going to rotate this brush down and towards the floor at about 50 RPMs is usually where we find it works pretty well. We have manifolds back here that apply our chemical, one for the entrance side of the brush and one for the exit side of the brush. The manifold has these little black tubes that are on here. These are designed to be tipped down so the chemical is applied right onto the brush. Behind these tubes, you'll find a nozzle in here. And this nozzle, we're going to want to periodically check this on about a weekly basis to make sure that chemical is flowing from this nozzle. If we find any clogged nozzles, we can use our tip cleaner to clean those out. We also have a check valve here on each nozzle. The check valves, it's important to ensure that they're working properly. If the check valves are working improperly, it could lead to excessive chemical use because of the siphoning of the chemical. With this brush, pretty much on a daily basis, depending on your volume, you may want to override the chemical pump every morning to get the brush ready for use. Daily, we're going to check the retract operation of the brush, making sure that it's nice and smooth, that it does fully retract, and also it extends all the way out and comes into contact with the vehicle. Rotational points on this. We have our rotational bearings. These rotational bearings are going to be greased once a week with 2 to 3 pumps of grease. To grease these bearings, just like any other bearing, we want to take a rag. We want to wipe off our Zerk fitting before we get started. We're going to take our grease gun, pop our grease gun right on the Zerk fitting, and we're just going to apply 2 to 3 pumps of grease to the bearing. It's important when greasing these bearings, we want to make sure we don't over-grease the bearing. When we're done, we're going to wipe off the grease. It's a common misconception in the car wash that people think they need to have grease coming out of the bearing. It's actually the opposite. If you have grease coming out of the bearing, you've broken the seal of the bearing, and the bearing is going to fail sooner. So we want to make sure that if we start to see grease coming out of here, we stop pumping instantly. Only thing you should ever see coming out is a little bit of moisture. We also have, on a monthly basis, we have our pivot bearings that need to be greased. They get greased in the same manner. It's easy to remember around the car wash. Anything that rotates 360 degrees is going to be on a weekly greasing schedule. Anything that's just a pivotal bearing is going to be on a monthly greasing schedule. So that's an easy way to keep a track of that. On our air cylinder, on a monthly basis, we're going to spray lubricant on our rod end, which is down here on the end of the cylinder, and our clevis, we're going to do that on a monthly basis. It's just going to help extend the life of our cylinders. Down here we have our oiler. This oiler helps the brush when it comes out. You've got the cylinder filled with oil, just makes for a smoother operation. We need to check the oil level in here. This one's actually slightly overfilled right now. It should never go higher than this fill line. Weekly, we're going to check the oil level in here. If it's low, we're going to add fluid right here through this Allen bolt on the top. Annually, we're going to drain and refill the fluid in there, or if you notice that it becomes contaminated at any time. Again, most important points with this brush are just to make sure that the chemical is being applied to the brush. We're going to do that through checking the nozzles, making sure they're spraying, making sure that it's rotating down into the floor, not too fast, about 50 RPMs, and the air pressures. We'll show you the air pressure settings in just a minute in the back room and talk about how to adjust the pressure settings for optimal application of the Tire Shine product. So what we're going to look at here is the adjustment of our bumper stop. The bumper stop will be found on any tire shiner or tire brush. What this does just prevents the brush from coming back too far. If we allow the brush to come back past the conveyor guide rail, it can create a pinch point, allowing the car's tires to get traction and jump out of the conveyor. To adjust the brush, we just loosen up the bolts, we push it out, and that's going to stop it from coming too far back. And that's our last adjustment before we move to the back room. Okay, so here we've moved in from outside in the tunnel. We're now in the back room on our tire seal control panel. The control panel for the tire seal is going to be the same as our tire shine. It's a universal panel. We use it for both styles. What you'll find here on this unit, we've got a few things. Over here we have our main air coming in. This is where our main air pressure comes in. We have two regulators here. We have one regulator that feeds up to our MAC valves. This regulator here looks a little different than this regulator. The reason for that is this particular piece right here. This is what's called a FRL. That stands for filter, catches moisture in it, regulator where we regulate the pressure, and our lubricator. This is going to be filled with some type of lubrication, something like air tool oil. That's going to provide lubrication to our MAC valves to give them years of trouble-free operation without sticking. The reason this one does not have a lubricator is because this one is going over and feeding our chemical pumps. The one feeding our chemical pumps, MAC valves, this type, they like oil, but this is feeding our flow jet. Flow jets do not like oil. The oil will cause their seals to swell and fail. So that's why we do not use oil feeding to our flow jets. The pressures on these, this one's going to be set somewhere between 50 to 60 pounds of pressure. That's for our retract, which is going to be holding the brushes up against the wall. This one here is going to be set somewhere between 60 to 80 pounds of pressure. The air from this flows up into our MAC valves. Right now our MAC valves are in the retracted position. If I wanted to cause him to go out and apply tire shine, by pushing this valve here, which is what the tunnel controller is going to do, it's going to cause the brush to go out towards the vehicle's wheels and tires. This is one of the important settings on the tire shine, is how much pressure is going to be applied by the brush to the tire. The pressure varies depending on a number of factors. Typically your driver's side is going to be lower than your passenger side. You never want to exceed typically about 50 pounds of pressure maximum. We've got exact settings in the manual that will explain exactly what settings we're looking for. To increase the pressure, you would do that at this regulator right here. By turning this knob, I'm going to increase the amount of pressure being applied to the tire shine. I release it, it'll go back out towards the walls. Over here we have our three-way MAC valve. The three-way MAC valves provide air to our flow jet pumps. The reason we use a three-way MAC valve is because it's an exhausting MAC valve instead of a one-way solenoid. So the pumps don't continue to suck chemicals. As soon as the controller shuts this off, you will immediately hear this exhaust. Okay? To adjust the pressure on our chemical pumps, we can energize the panel at the controller, or we can manually override it by pushing in this little white circle here. I'm going to go ahead and manually override it, and I'm going to adjust my pump pressure. To adjust my pump pressure, I pull this up, and I'm going to slowly adjust my pump pressure. The pumps are going to start running, pulling chemical through. The adjustment here is going to be determined by a number of factors. How much chemical you want applied and the thickness of the chemical. The thicker the chemical, the more chemical you want applied, the higher you're going to run your pumps. Right inside of this box here we have our timer. This timer is our older timer. We also have a newer PLC-based timer, which will show you a video on that a little bit later. With this standard timer, to adjust the amount of seconds the chemical is being applied for, you need a screwdriver. You take off these 4 screws that are holding this guy in. These plastic screws are in there. The standard that this comes from the factory set at is E004S. That means for every energize that it gets from the tunnel controller, it's going to apply chemical for 4 seconds. If I wanted to increase the chemical, I would press this plus mark right here. Right now what I did, I just brought it up to 5 seconds. If I wanted to decrease the amount of chemical, I would push this here. I can go down. You can get it down into the 1 second range. If you want lower than 1 second, you can go into fractions of seconds. You want to be careful when changing this last digit because you can also put it into minutes, hours, fractions of minutes, fractions of hours. By changing this here, you can see right now it's on S. As I push this, right now it says 0.1 M. That means it's on minutes. So right now, this is a fraction of a minute. So right now it's set for 0.M. If I were to turn this on, it'd be on for half a minute. We want to make sure that we don't set that wrong. That's an important setting. I'm going to go ahead and put it back to seconds and put it back to the factory setting because I don't know where they wanted to operate it at. And that is our control panel for our tire shine.
Thank you for watching this maintenance overview video. Please visit sonnysdirect.com and review the complete owner's manual before attempting any installation, maintenance, or repair of this component. There you'll learn necessary procedures, settings, and other considerations required for the safe operation of your car wash equipment.